Hi everybody, it's Kelly here from Craft and a Cuppa. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make a granny stitch hexagon cardigan. That's quite a bit of a mouthful, so I'll probably call it a hexi cardi now and again. I've had quite a lot of requests for this pattern, so I thought I'd do a tutorial on YouTube. They're brilliant and they're very addictive, so be warned. Normally I only make like one or two of one item, but I've made loads of these now. They're brilliant. They work up so quick and you can have so much fun with the colours. As you can see, I'm going rainbow. Right, so the pattern is available in sizes extra small to 5XL. I've included 10 centimetres positive ease. You can use any yarn that you wish and any hook to match your yarn because this is made to measure. So you can use whatever you fancy. I've got some DK here, double knit. But you can use Aran weight, you could use chunky, you could use super chunky. It's completely up to you. The measurements that you're going to be working towards are all written in the information section of the video. So if you wanted to make this for somebody else and they were a different size to you, you can still do that because you're going to be measuring your garment. Rather than yourself, you're going to be measuring the garment. So yeah. What we're going to need to use is a hook. I've got 5mm hook because I've got DK yarn. A tapestry needle for weaving in the ends. A pair of scissors. And you're definitely going to need the tape measure to measure your garment as you go along. Right then, let's begin. Right, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making 2 hexagons, which are eventually going to fold in a certain way and they're going to create the cardigan. Now, because I'm using different colours, I like to make both of my hexagons at the same time. So when I've finished with this one, I'm going to go straight to my second one. You don't have to do that, but I just like to do that, especially if I'm using up scraps. Then you always know that both sides are going to match because you can look at it and think, yeah, I've got enough yarn. But you can make one hexagon at a time. It's completely up to you. This is just my little way of doing it. Right, we need a slip knot to go on the hook. And then you're going to chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to join it to the bottom of this chain, the first one that you made, to create a loop using a slip stitch to join. Now if you've made a granny square, it's basically like what we're going to be doing, but instead of 4 sides you're going to have 6 sides. So chain 3, which will class as your first double crochet. Find that little hole in the middle. There it is. 2 double crochets into that hole, loop, whatever you want to call it. Right, that's our first granny stitch cluster. Now we're going to chain 2. And we're going to put 3 double crochets back into this loop. Now we need to chain 2 again. And we're going to repeat that process 4 more times. So 3 double crochets back into the loop. Chain 2. 3 double crochets back into the loop. So I just need a bit more yarn. 1, that's it. Now I've got to do 2 more there. Chain 2 again. 3 double crochets back into the loop. chain 2. Now I'm not quite sure how many I've got here. Let's have a look. So you're going to need 6 3 double crochet sets to make your hexagon. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I need to do it one more time, so I'm going to put 3 more double crochets back into the loop. Chain 2, and then we're going to join it to the top of this first chain that we made in the 3rd chain. There we go, with a slip stitch like so. I'm just going to double check one more time that I've got 6 sets of 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right, I'm going to stay with the same colour for the next round, and I like to turn my work after every round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my work and I'm going to slip stitch back into this chain space that we've made here with the chain 2. Right, I'm going to chain 3, which is going to class as my first double crochet. And then I'm going to put 2 double crochets in the same chain space. There we go. I'm not going to chain at all here. I'm just going to skip over these 3 double crochets and I'm going to go straight into the next corner chain space and do 3 double crochets. And then I'm going to chain 2 and place 3 double crochets back in this same corner chain space. Same process again. We're going to skip these 3 double crochets and go straight into the next corner chain space and do 3 double crochets. And then chain 2 and then 3 double crochets back in the same corner chain space. Again, skipping the 3 double crochets and going straight back into the next corner chain space. We're going to do 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 double crochets back into the corner chain space. Again, we're going to skip these 3 double crochets and go straight into the next corner chain space with 3 double crochets. And then chain 2 and put 3 double crochets back into the same corner chain space. Again, skipping the 3 double crochets, we're going into the next corner chain space with 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 double crochets back into this corner chain space. We've now arrived back where we started. Now this corner chain space has only got 3 double crochets. It consists of the chain 3 that you've done at the beginning and 2 double crochets, but we class all of that as 3 double crochets. We can't join it just yet because it still needs 3 more double crochets and a chain 2 in this corner chain space to create that final corner. So we're going to get into this bit right here, the final chain space, and we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then we're going to join to the top of the chain 3 that you made at the beginning in the 3rd chain. So count them up, 1, 2, 3. Got to wiggle it in there and then join it with a slip stitch. Right, so that's 2 rows of the first hexagon. What I am going to do is I'm going to get this little tail and I'm going to pull it nice and tight like that, just to bring that middle loop in. Right, well, because I'm changing colour now, I am going to snip this off and I'm going to quickly make my second one. So I'm going to keep going backwards and forwards between my first hexagon and my second hexagon. You don't have to do it this way. If you would rather just make one hexagon at a time, that's absolutely fine. It's however you wish to do it. But I just like to make them both at the same time, and then I can just put them together and go, oh, that looks amazing. You can just see the progress, really, more than anything. So I'm only snipping mine off because I'm changing colour. If you're keeping your same colour, remember to turn and slip stitch back into the same corner, in the same corner chain space, and then you can start the process again. But yeah, I'll come back to you in a minute once I've made my 2 hexagons, and then we'll go in for round 3. Right, I've done 2 rounds here and I've done 2 hexagons. I forgot to show you how I snipped my little end off because I got so excited, got carried away, and I pushed stop and was like, oh dear, I didn't show that bit, did I? So basically, when I'm finished and I'm changing colour, I'm just going to snip that off there like so. Get my fingers in this loop that's left and just pull that little tail through so it's a knot. Right, I've got my 2 little hexagons there. I'm now going to add my next colour. So let's put one to one side. Now I like to turn my work after every round, and I like to go in a different corner if I'm changing colour. I'm just used to doing that because if you was doing a granny square, that would help keep your granny square nice and straight. I've done a little tutorial on that as well. So it's just natural that I do it with a hexagon. I don't really think it's going to make much difference with the hexagon, to be fair, but still do it anyway. Good habit. Right, so I'm going to change colour this round for round 3. You don't have to do that. You can change colour whenever you like. So I'm going to do another slip knot. I'm going to go in some random pointy corner here. Make sure you don't go in the centre bit because that's on the edge. We're going to go in the corner. Right here, that one will do. I'm just going to join my yarn with a slip stitch, pull that through and do a slip stitch, chain 3, which is going to be classed as your first double crochet, 2 double crochets back into the same corner, skip the 3 double crochets along the first row bit here, or on the edge, whatever you want to call that. I'm going to go straight into this gap here and do 3 double crochets. Now we're going to skip these 3 double crochets here and go straight into the corner where we're going to do 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets back in the same corner. Then we're going to skip these 3 double crochets and we're going to go straight into the gap in the middle with just 3 double crochets. Skip these 3 again and into the corner, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets back into the same corner, skip these 3 double crochets and go into the gap in the center with 3 double crochets. Lovely repetitive stitch. You can do this while you're watching Netflix. I like to call this mindless crocheting. Skip these 3 here and into the corner, 3 double crochets. Once you get into the swing of it, you just do it without even thinking about it. Chain 2, 3 double crochets back into that corner. Again, skipping these 3 and going straight into the gap into the middle, 3 double crochets. Skipping these 3 again and going into the corner, 3 double crochets. Chain 2, 3 double crochets back into the corner. Oh, what have I just done? It's because my yarn's going a bit crazy. How many have I done? I've just done 1. I need to do 2 more in this corner. Skip these 3 and 3 double crochets in the gap in the middle. And then skipping these again, 3 double crochets back into the corner. Chain 2, 3 double crochets back into the same corner. 1, 2, 3. Skipping these ones again into the center gap, 3 double crochets. Skipping these and coming back to your final corner again, where you have your chain 3 from the previous, from the beginning of the round. Chain 3 and 2 double crochets. So we're going to go back into this same corner and do 3 more double crochets and a chain 2. Chain 2, and then we're going to join it again to the top of the chain 3 from the beginning with a slip stitch. Again, I'm going to change colour, but if you're staying with the same colour, remember to turn your work and slip stitch back into that corner chain space. Oh, my voice is going. And then you can start your chain 3 again. I'm just going to undo that because I am now going to snip this off because I'm changing colour again. Making a rainbow, aren't I? So I'm just going to put a loop there. Get my scissors. And pull that little loose end through here. Now, because I'm going to be changing colours a lot, there's going to be a lot of ends. I don't like ends at all, but if you weave them in as you go, you're not going to notice them. Now, my little tip as well is this centre one that we did right at the beginning. I leave that one there, and then I weave all of my ends in the same side as where this tail is, and then to me this will always be known as the wrong side, the side that I weaved all of my ends in. It's a good little tip, that is. Otherwise you might forget and you start weaving them in on the front and on the back, and then they start poking through and you're like, oh no, what have I done? So I'm actually going to start weaving some ends in right now. I'm going to just weave this one purple end in. Same side as this. Get that in there like so. I'm just going to like weave it in through here. Pull it, but not too tight. Just going to go through that a little bit, and I'm going to turn around and go back on myself. Through there. And then through this little bit here, and then I'm going to turn it around and come back again one more time. And I might even pop it through this little bit, through the corner. Here we go. Whee! Coming out the other end, just about. Ooh. Alright, snip that, like so. That's 3 rounds. Haha. Right, I'm going to do the same for my second hexagon. See you soon. Right, I've got my 2 hexagons here up to round 3. I'm now going to join in a new colour. Remember, you can do any colour pattern that you wish. I am doing 2 rainbows, 2 rounds of rainbows, 1 round of black. That's what I'm going to do, but you can use as many or as little colours as you wish, and you can change them as little and often as you wish. So I'm going to attach my new colour. Turn my work so that the last row or last round is facing the wrong way. Go in any random corner. Join with a slip stitch, chain 3, 2 double crochets in the corner, skip 3 double crochets and go straight into the next gap with 3 double crochets. Skip the next 3 double crochets and go straight into the gap again with 3 double crochets. Which then takes me back to the corner where we're going to skip these 3 double crochets, and in the corner chain space 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets back in here. Hopefully now you're starting to get a hang of the pattern and where the stitches are going. Skip these 3 again and into this gap with 3 double crochets. Skip these 3 into this gap, 3 double crochets. Back to the corner, 3 double crochets. I'm just going to keep going now. Hopefully you've got the hang of the pattern. Hang on, that one got a little twisted. Some more yarn in the corner. Where are we? back at this last corner, we're going to do 3 double crochets and a chain 2. Let's move that out of the way. And join to the top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch. I'm just going to turn mine and slip stitch back into that corner because I'm staying with the same colour. And then I'm going to start the whole process again for the next round. I'm going to pause the video now and meet you back here when I've done my 2 rounds on this one and on my second hexagon. And then I'll start to show you how we are going to be measuring the hexagons. Okay? Right. I've added a few more extra rounds to my hexagon than what I said I was going to, because I wanted to give you a clear picture as to how we're going to measure your hexagon to get it to the correct size. Before I do that, I just also want to explain that the hexagons do not lay flat, and that's exactly how they're supposed to be. I'm just going to show you quickly how we're going to fold them, so when you're making them you can fold them up and go, oh my goodness, it's looking amazing. So basically what we're going to do is take one side just like this, and then we're going to fold it in half just like that, and then we're going to run our fingers and line up this side, and then we're going to lay it flat, smooth it out, and voila, you have 1/2 of a cardigan. I'm going to do the same for the other side. And this is why I like to make both of mine at the same time, because then you can put it together and you can go, oh my goodness, this is going to look incredible. Just like that. So clever. What a clever concept. Right, I'm just going to put this one to one side. Also, I hope you've been weaving in your ends as you've been going. I have, look, still got this one in the middle, and I've been weaving all of my ends on this side only, and that's going to be the inside of my cardigan, also known as the wrong side. Right, now I'm going to show you how we're going to measure the hexagons, and for this you're going to need the number for the finished measurement of half a hexagon. That is going to be in the written section underneath this video. So you need the finished width of half a hexagon. And what we're going to do, I'm just laying this piece out flat here because I'm going to measure from this centre point right to the very edge. And that is the width of half a hexagon. Now I'm making a size small, and according to the measurements, mine needs to be around 20.5 centimetres. Now I say around because you might not get that exact measurement, because when you're adding around, you got to think you're adding, well, you're adding like maybe a centimetre or a bit more. It just actually depends what yarn you're using, because I'm using DK. If you're using chunky yarn, you're going to be adding a lot more each time you add one round. So as long as you're close to that number, then it's fine. I usually go a little bit under that number because there's positive ease on here anyway. I'm going to get my tape measure. I'm going to place it right in the centre, just like so. And at the minute, mine is measuring 11 centimetres. So I've still got quite a way to go to get to 20.5. Mine needs to measure to here. And that's how you're going to measure your cardigans or your hexagons. So we're going to keep adding our rounds, okay? And I will meet you back here when you have the measurement of half a hexagon to the correct size that you are doing. Okay, see you in a soon. See you in a soon. Can't get my words out right. See you soon. Right, I've got my 2 hexagons made. Looking pretty spectacular, aren't they? Yay! This is the exciting part now, because it's all going to come together. So I'm just going to move one of these. Just double check my sizing again, because I'm making a small, and it needs to be around about 20.5 centimetres. So let's get the tape measure, put it in the middle. says 20. I've done it. Oh my goodness. 20.5. I didn't realise I was that close. So yeah, mine's ready to be assembled now. So what we're going to do is, yeah, get to the assembling part. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a contrast seam on mine, and I'm going to do it on the outside of the cardigan. Now let me show you what I mean by grabbing this one. So my seam is going to come down my arm on the outside. Basically, we're just going to do single crochets to join it together. Now, if you're not keen on that, you can seam it on the inside so that this bit will all be on the inside of your cardigan, like this. But I'll show you what it looks like if you use the same colour, because I've got this one here as well. Where are we? This is what it's like if you do the seam on the inside of your cardigan. So if you use the same colour as your last round and then seam it on the inside with single crochets, that is how it will look from the outside. And then if I open it up, that's my seam from the inside. But I'm doing it a bit different, and I'm going to do mine on the outside, just to give it a bit of a different look, because I quite like that. I'm going to do the same for my other rainbow cardigan. So what we're going to do, if you're going to do the same as me and you're going to seam the outside of your cardigan, what you need to do is find the inside, which if you've done what I said before and left this little tail, I know that's the inside of my cardigan because I've been weaving all my ends on this side only. So what we're going to do is we need to fold it so that the wrong sides are together and the right side is facing up. Let me take another bit. Right, here we go. So what we're going to do is going to smooth one side out like this. Literally just pick these two bits up, bring them together. I'm going to twist it around a bit and I'm going to line up these two edges. Like so. And basically all we're going to be doing is seaming along here, and this will become your arm, the sleeve and the top shoulder seam. Now if you want to do your seam on the inside so it's not poking out like how mine will be, then what you need to do is the exact same process, but fold your cardigan so that the right sides are together. So you need the right side facing you now, and you bring it together like this, right sides touching, and then again bring this bit together. So this is the inside of my cardigan. So when we do our row of single crochets, after you've done that, you will then turn your cardigan the right side out, and then you'll have your seam on the inside and you won't see it. But because I'm doing a contrast seam, I want mine to be on the outside and I want it to be showing. So let me just find the wrong side again, which is here. Fold that together. Right, let me get my yarn. Do a slip knot. I'm going to go in this first corner and the first corner here. Just going to go straight through both of them with a slip stitch. Nearly forgot what I was saying then. Chain one, and now we're ready to do single crochets all the way across to the end of this row here, all the way across there. I hope I put them in all the right bits, because sometimes I get myself a bit befuddled when I'm doing this. Doing a single crochet back through both sides. Make sure you always go through both sides. So we're going back through that chain space, one single crochet. Now I'm going to have a little wiggle and find the first stitch and then the first stitch on this side. I would have to have black, wouldn't I, for my last round, just to make it even more awkward. Through the next stitch. Just keep doing single crochets with both sides. Hope this looks okay when I do it. No, my luck, I'll look at it and go, oh, I don't like it. Or I might look at it and go, yes, yes, I like that. Just keep going all the way down until you reach the next 2 corner chain spaces. Make sure you keep going through both sides. Right, we've now reached the end and we've got 1 corner chain space left to go in each side, so place your final single crochet through that corner chain space. Just have a little look at mine and see if I like it. Yes, I like it. I'm going to keep it like that. Snip this off. Knot it. Just give this end a little tighten. I'm also going to weave my ends in a minute. So there we are. We're now going to repeat the exact same process for the other side. So it's going to be this one. I tend to lay it out like this, so I know, I don't know, it just seems like, yeah, I'm going to start in this corner and go up for this one. So I know that they're both looking right. I don't know. So anyway, I'll meet you back here once you've seamed your second sleeve shoulder seam. Okay. Right, I finished my seaming on both hexagons and my seam is on the outside. Now if you did your seam on the inside, I'm going to need you to now turn your cardigan the right way out just by pulling on the sleeve like that. Mine is already the right way out because I seamed mine on the outside, so I'm going to just put mine back a second. Right, what we're going to be doing now is we're going to be adding what I call infill rows on the back, which is going to create the neckline around the back, because if you had it on right now, it's going to be, well, look, there's no room for your neck, is there? So what we're going to do, if I just fold that piece up like that and this piece like this, we are literally going to be adding some rows from the bottom or the top corner chain space. It doesn't matter which end you start at, backwards and forwards, which is going to expand just this bit only to create room for your neck. Now the measurements that you need to work towards for each side are in the information section, which I've written out, which will be underneath the video. Now I'm making a small, and according to that I need to add around 4.5 centimeters on each side. So we're going to need a tape measure out again. Oh, right, so what we're going to do, let me get my yarn. And my hook. Let's put that to one side for 1 second. Right, what we're going to do is I like to keep my cardigans flat out how they're going to be put together, because I'm going to be starting from one end and then you're going to be doing like the opposite on the other side. It may sound like absolute jargon right now, but yeah, you'll see in a minute. So I've been turning my work after every round, and at the moment my stitches on the back are facing me, so I'm going to need to work from this side. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be going through the top corner chain space. Now that might not be the same for you. You might be going through the bottom. It doesn't matter which end you start at, because we're all going through, we're all literally just doing the same thing, back and forth along one side only. So it doesn't matter if you start in the bottom, it doesn't matter if you start in the top. But because I've been turning my row, turning my work after every round, then it's fallen so that I need to go into the top. So I'm going to take this one piece, I'm going to leave this one here, just like that, all laid out, ready to go. So we are literally going to be adding extra rows back and forth along this side only until I get to around about 4.5 centimeters. So what we're going to do, go in through the corner chain space and join it with a slip stitch. Chain 3 and place one more double crochet in that corner chain space. Now we're going to skip the 3 double crochets and go into the gap with 3 double crochets. And keep repeating. 3 double crochets, just like how it was when you was doing your hexagons, but just down this side only. And we're going to keep doing this until we reach the next corner chain space. Lost that one. Right, I'm now back to, well, not back, I've now reached the final corner chain space, and we're going to place 2 double crochets in there, just 2, not 3. Now I'm going to stay with the same colour for my next row. If you're changing colour, then just obviously snip it, knot it, turn your work, and then join your new colour through that last double crochet that you made. Because I'm staying with the same colour, I'm going to chain 3, turn my work, and what we're going to be doing now is going straight into this first gap. We're going to skip this first double crochet here and go straight into the first gap with 3 double crochets. And then again, skip the 3 double crochets into the next gap with 3 double crochets. And we will continue to do that until we reach the last gap of the row. Almost there. Right, we're at the last gap. I'm going to put 3 double crochets in there. 1, 2, 3, and then I'm going to put 1 double crochet in the last stitch. I'm going to skip that first double crochet there, and I'm going to put my final 1 double crochet in the top of the chain 3 from the previous round, or row from the previous row, like that. And then you're literally going to keep repeating these 2 rows. So the next row we turn our work and we will place 2 double crochets in that stitch, and then you'll do skip those 3 double crochets, 2 double crochets in the next stitch. What am I talking about? In the next gap. Sorry, I'm getting my words muddled up. I'm just going to snip mine off because I am going to change colour. Just get my black out. I'm going to do one more row, and I'm going to measure mine because I'm only doing the small, so I need about 4.5 centimetres on mine. So I'm going to change my colour to black. I'm going to turn my work and go straight in that final stitch. With a slip stitch. I'm getting all mixed up there. What's going on there? Oh no, yeah, no, yeah, oh, there we go. We're in. Chain 3, 1, 2, 3, another double crochet in the same stitch. Don't worry about that gap. We're not even going to do anything with that because you're pretty much sitting on top of that gap anyway. So just 2 in there, and then we're going to go straight into this next gap here, skipping over these 3 double crochets, and then 3 double crochets in there. Repeat the process to the end of the row. What you need to remember is that you're not starting every row with 3 double crochets like you were when you was doing your hexagons. First row, you're starting with 2 double crochets. Second row, it will be 1 double crochet. Third row, 2. Fourth row, 1. You're alternating each beginning of each row with 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet. And that's how you keep a straight edge when you're doing a granny stitch. Love granny stitch, I do. You can't beat it. I think it's possibly, well, it definitely is my favourite stitch. Let's get all the way to the end of this row. And then I'm going to measure it. I need roughly 4.5 centimetres. Hopefully I've not gone over. But if I have, do you know what? It doesn't matter because we're going to be putting rounds all the way around the whole cardigan once we're finished for the neckline. So if you feel it's a bit loose, you can add extra rounds around the neckline to bring it in a bit. It's all personal preference. It's what I like about made to measure. You know, I've made quite a few of these. I've got a couple in chunky yarn and super chunky yarn, which work up quickly. I've become a bit addicted to these. They're just fun to make. Great way of using up scraps as well. Nearly there. And then what we're saying for this one, right, 2 double crochets, isn't it? Because I've done 2 on my first row, 1 on my second row, and now on my third row I've got to go back to 2. So let me put that in the top of the turning chain from the previous row. Wiggle that in there. I'm going to put 2 double crochets in this stitch. 1, 2. I'm going to snip my black off because of the way that I'm doing 2 rows of colour, 1 row of black. So I've added 3 here. Let me just get my measuring tape. And if I lay it like this, let me just tighten this end a minute. If I lay it out, you can see what's happening. Is that the back is now becoming wider than the front, and that is going to create the bit that goes along the back of your neck. So yeah, where's my measuring tape? I need to get to roughly 4.5 centimetres. I'm at 4. I'm at 4, and if I did another one I'll be at 5. So I'm going to stick where I am because we're going to be doing the seam as well, and we're going to be joining that as like a join as you go method. So that's going to add a bit extra in the middle as well. So I'm going to stop at 3 rows for mine. So now what we need to do is repeat the same process on the other half. And the reason why I've laid them out like this next to each other ready is because for my first half I started up this end because I like to turn my work every round, and my stitches were facing me. So when I turned it like this, it meant that I had to join in the top of my cardigan, right at the top. But for this side, stitches facing me, my last round is facing me. If I then turn it, I have to go in through the bottom. See, if I joined in the top for both of them, they wouldn't match. I wouldn't be able to put them together, and I'd have to undo all of this side. So yeah, I'm going to do the next side. I'm not going to do it all on camera. I'm going to meet you at the next section. But yeah, you need to just start from the opposite end of where you went in on this side. Just going down the straight, put exactly the same amount of rows in as what you did for this side, which for me was 3. And then yeah, I'll meet you back here when that's all done, and then we will seam it together, which is even more exciting because then you get to try it on and think, oh my goodness, this looks amazing. Right, I've done my other side of my infill rows. What we're going to do now is join it together. So I'm going to turn it so it's upside down, so I've got the back facing me. So I'm going to do it so that my sleeve is at the top. Just flip it, bosh, this one, like that. Oh, got my needle. Right, so what we're going to do is join these together with a continuous join. Skip my yarn and place it on here. So we're going to go through the first stitch with a slip stitch to join my yarn. Slip stitch, and then we're going to, oh hang on, I can't get it in there, that chain 3, 1, oh 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to find the first stitch at the bottom of this one, and we're going to go through and we're going to join it with a slip stitch like so, and then we're going to chain 3, and you're going to find the first gap. Now because I ended my row with 2 double crochets at the end, I'm going to skip over that double crochet and go straight into the gap. If you finished on a row with just 1 double crochet, then go straight into the gap. There isn't going to be a double crochet to skip. So what we're going to do, yarn over and do your double crochet in this first gap on the front panel only. Not the front panel. I'm saying front because this is front and that's back really, isn't it, if you're looking at it that way. So that's what I'm going to say then, yeah. We'll call this one the front, this one the back. Front panel only, because it's the one that's closest to me. 3 double crochets in that gap. Pick up the back panel only, find that first gap, 3 double crochets in there. Now drop the back panel and find the front one. Skipping over these 3 double crochets, we're going to go straight into the next gap and do 3 double crochets in the front panel only. Drop the front panel, pick up the back one, find the next gap, 3 double crochets. Again, drop the back panel, find the next gap on the front panel, 3 double crochets. Drop the front panel, back panel, next gap, 3 double crochets. We're going to repeat this all the way up until you reach the last, where am I? Yeah, last gaps. Back to the front, 3 double crochets. Back to the back, back to the back. Oh, I've got a bit of yarn going on there. What's happening? So yeah, just going back and front, back and front, front and back, however you want to say it. Right, last gap at the front. So we're doing 3 double crochets. 1, oh heck, I've messed it up. 1, 2, 3. Last gap at the back, 3 double crochets. 1, 2, 3. Now again, if you're like me and you've got 2 double crochets left, we're going to be skipping over that first double crochet. If you've only got 1 double crochet there, then that's absolutely fine. You're just going to go straight in that one. So front panel only. Front panel only, slip stitch in that final stitch. Oh, hang on a minute, I've yarned over. Slip stitch in there, and then we're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and join it to the final stitch on the back panel with a slip stitch. Oh, hang on, I've got to come through it. Where are we? Oh no, I keep going through the centre there. There we go, I've got it. With a slip stitch. I'm just going to snip that end off and knot it. I always like to go back to the beginning and pull that tight as well. And there you have it. Once you lay it out a bit, that's your seam. Looks just like the other bits, doesn't it? Amazing, amazing. Let's turn it around and have a look through here. See, now you can start to try it on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to weave in some ends, and I'll meet you back here for the next section, which will be adding length to your sleeves. See you there. Right then, next section we're going to be doing is adding length to the sleeves. Now if you're making it for yourself, you can keep trying it on, and if you're happy with the way that, or the length of the sleeve, then you know when to stop. If you'd rather go by measurements, or if you're making it for somebody else, then again I have got some measurements that are written in the information section underneath the video. It all depends on how you're going to have your cuff, I suppose, for this, because if you want to keep your cuff, well, I say keep your cuff, keep your sleeve wide, then you'll be using the full measurement that I've wrote down. I'm doing a small, so that's saying 43 centimetres, but I would like to cuff mine. So if you want to do a cuff, I've knocked about 5 centimetres off each measurement for that, to make room for the cuff. So I'm doing a small. It's saying that I need to get to 38 centimetres. So how we're going to measure that, just put that out there. This measurement is based on the underarm to the wrist. So we're literally just going to place our tape measure under here. Where am I at the moment? Round about 18 centimetres, and I need to get to 38. So I need to keep adding my rounds on my sleeve until I get to roughly around 38 centimetres, and then I can start making my cuff. So I still like to turn my row after every work. I said that last time, didn't I? Turn my work after every round. Sorry, it's a bit late here. I should probably be in bed, but I need to get some of this done because I know I won't be able to do it tomorrow. So let's crack on. My last round was facing inwards. So I'm going to be starting on the outside. Now, I like to join my yarn. It seems natural, like to go for where the seam is, but that's on the top. I like to join my yarn at the bottom, literally in one of the gaps just here, so it's in line with the underarm. So I'm going to get it on here. Actually, we'll just put that down a minute while I get my yarn on my hook. That'd probably be the better idea, wouldn't it? Let's get some yarn on my hook. Right, so I'm going to go in here in line with the underarm. Just going to join in with a slip stitch. Chain 3, which is going to class as your first double crochet, 2 double crochets back into that same chain space, and then again skipping the next 3 double crochets and going straight into the next gap with 3 double crochets. Just continue in the same stitch pattern. Again, skipping the 3 double crochets into the next gap with 3 double crochets. And I'll keep doing that until I reach my first set of 3 double crochets. When you get to the seam, just turn it round. When you get to the seam here, we're just going to go in this, because those two are both corner chain spaces, so we're going to be working into both of those. So 3 double crochets, just move out of the way, into the first corner chain space before the seam, and then just skipping over the seam and going into the next chain space, doing 3 double crochets, and then keep working around in all the gaps with 3 double crochets. Right, I've made it back to the beginning, skipping over these last 3 double crochets. I'm just going to join to the top of my chain 3 with a slip stitch. Now I'm keeping the same colour for this round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to turn my work, and then I'm going to do 2 double crochets back into that same chain space. Well, it's not a chain space, is it? It's a gap. We haven't got the chains there, so just ignore me. Straight back into the same gap, 2 double crochets. And then again, continue skipping over 3 double crochets and going into the next gap with 3 double crochets. Oh, that one didn't go very well. oh sorry, there I've got to the end again, look. And I'm going to skip the last 3 double crochets and do a slip stitch at the top of the chain 3 from the beginning to join. There we go. So I'm going to be changing colour for my next round. I'm just going to fasten off, snip this end. Turn it this way as well for my next round, so I've got the last lot of stitches are wrong side facing me. Skip my black. And then to change colour, very easy, just like what we have been doing. You're just going to slip stitch it in basically, but I will just show you quickly. So I'm just going to join straight where I've left off here. I'm going to join my black right around this gap with a slip stitch right in there, move that a little bit out of the way with a slip stitch, chain 3 and 2 double crochets back into the same gap. And then just continue again all the way around. And you're going to keep doing this until you reach the measurement that it says in the information section below. Remember to keep getting your tape measure out. Just trying to work out what side I am. Remember to keep checking. I know I've only done like 2 rows and a tiny little bit, but just a reminder that, oh yeah, that'd be about 21 there. Lovely, lovely. I need to get to 38, it's saying, because I want to cuff mine. So I've took 5 centimetres from the original measurement, which was 43. Do you know, it just depends. I mean, you don't have to take 5 centimetres. It all depends on how big you want your cuff to be. So if you want a larger cuff, have a look at the tape measure and think, yeah, I'd quite like a massive cuff of 10 centimetres. Then knock 10 centimetres off that number. It's up to you. It's your cardigan. You do whatever you wish with it. It's the beauty of making your own clothes, isn't it? You can do whatever you want. So I'm going to continue on with this, and I will meet you back here when we get to the cuff. If you decide you don't want a cuff, then that's fine. You can skip over that section. So I'll see you in a bit. Right, I have been adding rounds to my sleeve to add the length. So where's my tape measure? Over here. I've been making a small, and according to the measurements, if I want to cuff my sleeve, then I need to work to around 38 centimetres. Let's have a quick check. Yep, I'm at 38. So it's time now for me to add my cuff. First round that we're going to be doing is a decrease round, and from now on out I work with my work facing me, not on the inside, but I do the whole entire cuff with the rounds all facing me. I don't turn after each round. So let me just get my yarn and attach that. Now I'm going to show you how I decrease my sleeve to draw it in to make my cuff. Now remember, if you've made a larger size, then you're going to have a much wider sleeve than me. So you might have to have a little play about and maybe change the stitches slightly if you feel like your cuff is still too big or it's too tight. Because people have different preferences, don't they, to how they want their cuff to sit. Some people like a tight cuff, others like it loose. So I'll show you what I do. Just join my yarn in any gap with a slip stitch. Basically, all I'm going to do is work single crochets into every single gap, not the stitches, and that's going to draw it in. Now, if you think, oh, that's too tight, I need extra stitches, then you could do 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet. If you think that it's too loose, then you could do single crochet, 2 together and join 2 gaps together. There's lots of different combinations that you can do to get a different fitted cuff, but I'm going to show you how I do mine, and it's literally just putting a single crochet into every gap. So single crochet straight back into the, oh no, I've got to chain 1 first. Look, chain 1, single crochet straight down back into this first gap, and then skipping over the double crochets here, the 3 double crochets, going straight back into the next gap, and then again next gap, single crochet all the way around. My hook sounds a bit squeaky. Don't know if you can hear that. Oh, what have I just done there? I've got a bit twisted and stuck. Not ideal. Why is my hook squeaking? Don't know if you can hear that. Does that mean it's time for a new one if it does that? I like my hook. I'm quite attached to it. Getting there. It's the only thing when you're working on the sleeves, you have to keep turning, like twisting your cardigan round. Especially now we're decreasing. Right, I've just put it in the last gap, and then I've got the gap where we started. Although I haven't been counting, I know at the minute I've got 19 single crochets. Now this round has to end on an even number for us to make a lovely looking cuff. For it to all work out, it needs to be an even number of stitches. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place my final stitch back in this same gap as the first one to make it 20 stitches, a nice even number. There we go. And then I'm going to join it to the first single crochet that we made with a slip stitch. If I can get it in there, there we go. There we go. And that's drawn that cuff, it was a sleeve. I keep calling it a cuff. It's not a cuff just yet, is it? It's drawn the sleeve in. The next round that we're going to do is going to be double crochets. Your first chain 3 is going to count as your first stitch or your first double crochet. So chain 3, I'm going to go in here, so that counts as 1. Remember to keep counting because I'm going to need 20 double crochets. You're going to might need a different number, but you've got to make sure that the double crochets as well, you've got an even number. So double crochet in every single crochet all the way around. Now my last one, 20, and then we're going to join it. Let's get some more yarn, it's getting a bit tight. Join it to the top of the chain 3 that you made at the beginning of the round with a slip stitch, and then we're ready to start doing the cuff. Now I'm going to change colour here. Normally I do all this in the same colour, but I would like to get a bit of pink on here as well, and then we're going to change colour again and add a bit of black so that I know I've got the rainbow on here again. So it's optional now, changing colour. If you want to stick with the same one, then yeah, go ahead and keep your yarn attached. I'm just going to fasten that off. Get my pink. Now because I've changed colour, just tighten this up a bit. I always like to tighten that up. I'm going to join around one of these double crochet posts, because what we're going to be doing now to make the cuff is we're going to be doing front post double crochet, back post double crochet, front post double crochet, back post double crochet, and we're going to repeat that all the way around, round after round, until that starts to make a cuff effect. Now because I'm changing colour, I'm going to join my yarn around the first post, which will be my first front post double crochet. Now if you kept the same colour and you kept the same yarn, you're just going to chain 1 and you're going to go straight down around that first double crochet post and do a front post double crochet. But because I've joined my yarn and changed colour, I've gone around the post to begin with to join it with a slip stitch, and I'm now going to chain 3. Yeah, that's right, chain 3. Next we're going to be doing a back post double crochet around the next oh, I've come out. Let's come out of there. Where are we? And then a front post double crochet, and then a back post double crochet, and then a front post double crochet, and then a back post, front post, back post, front post, back post, front post, back post. You just got to keep remembering front post, back post, front post, back post. Just turn this around. Got a few ends there. Always the worst part, isn't it? Weaving in the ends. Got 2 left, front post, and then you should end up with the last stitch being a back post, because your first one was a front post, back post, and if you change the colour of your yarn like I did, you're going to be slip stitching it to the top of the chain 3 like so. Oh, but if you kept the same colour, you're going to be slip stitching it to the top of the first front post double crochet. I'm going to show you that now, because I'm now going to stay with the same colour. I'm going to show you exactly what you do if you stick with the same colour. So sticking with the same colour for the next round, chain 1, and then we're going to do a front post double crochet straight down onto this first bar here. Straight down, front post. And then you can see that the next one is a back post, so we're going back post. This is where it gets a bit easier because you can just follow what you did on the previous round. Front post double crochet, back post double crochet. Just turn this round again. I'm getting a bit twisted. Front post double crochet, back post double crochet, all the way around again. These are going to be some funky cuffs. I do love using all the colours. All the time. All the colours. It's just the ends which are a pain. But it is what it is. If you like using all the colours, you've got to deal with all the ends, haven't you? I'm going to change colour again once I've done this round and finish off the rest of my cuff in black. Okay, so now I'm at the end of this round and I've finished again on a back post double crochet. I'm just going to go straight into the top of the front post double crochet from the beginning to join it with a slip stitch. Now I'm going to change colour. So I'm going to fasten this one off. If you want to stay with the same colour, that's absolutely fine. What you'll be doing again is chaining 1 and going straight down around that first post, which is going to look a little bit chunky because you had your other chain 1 in there as well from the previous round. But yeah, straight down around that first post with a front post double crochet. Now I'm going to put black on mine now. So I'll show you again how to join in a new colour. Just attach my black. That's a brand new skein and I haven't found the end. Not ideal. Where is it? Is it tucked in? There we go, I've got it. Panic over. Right, so if you're going to join in another colour, you're going to attach your yarn around the previous first post double crochet that you made on the last round with a slip stitch. Straight round there with a slip stitch and you will chain 3. But if you're sticking with the same colour, you will only chain 1 and then do your front post double crochet around this straight down around the first front post double crochet from the previous round, just to be confusing. But I think it's good to show you how to change colour because you might want to do a funky sleeve, a funky cuff, funky sleeve, funky cuff. I can't even talk properly. It's quite late here again. I haven't to do nighttime recordings at the minute because it's the weekend and I cannot record if the kids are here. There'd be far too many, "Mummy, Mummy." So I'm just going to keep doing front posts and back posts and front posts and back posts. Oh, what have I done there? Missed that bit. lots of ends to weave in though. It's up to you how big you make your cuffs. I quite like to have quite a large cuff on mine. So I'm going to do a few more rounds. I don't really know how many I'm going to do, to be honest. I never quite tell until after I've made it and I've tried it on a few times and I think, yes, I quite like that. That'll be fine. Right, I'm going to join mine to the top of my chain 3 because I changed colour. If you stay with the same colour, you're going to be joining yours to the top of the first front post crochet. Front post double crochet. Oh my word, I cannot get my words out. Squiggle that in there. Now this is going to be awkward for me as well, isn't it? And I've not quite got that in there. It's because it's black yarn. Why do I keep using black yarn? Why does black yarn have to look so good with rainbow colours? It's so awkward to work with. I'm in, I think. I'm in. Panic over. Now I'm not quite finished yet, but I'm just going to keep repeating front post double crochet, back post double crochet. Keep repeating a few more rounds, and I'll meet you back here when it's done. So yeah, just add as many rounds as you want, or you can go to 5 centimeters like I've calculated for the arm length. You can add a few more. What am I up to at the minute? I am up to about 3 centimeters. I might go to 5, I might go to 7, who knows. Just keep adding these rounds until you feel happy with the length of your cuff, and I'll meet you back here when they're both done. Right, I've done my cuffs, both of them are complete. I've got quite a tight cuff, but that's exactly how I like mine to be. I'm very happy with how they've come out. So the next section is going to be for the people who are happy with the length of their cardie and they don't want to add any extra rows on the bottom. If you do want to add extra length to your cardie, then just ignore this little section that I'm going to do here, and I'll come back to adding length in a little while once I've done this. I'm going to use another cardie of mine that I have already finished, but I am going to add an extra round to it to show you basically what we're going to be doing. So if you're happy with your length, I don't think I can quite fit all this in my screen, but basically you're going to have 2 corners at the bottom of your cardie. You're going to join in any corner and you're going to work all the way around the edge of your whole cardigan. So you're going to come all the way around your neckline to your next corner and all along the back to the same corner. Now it's up to you how many rounds you add. I normally add 3 or 4 and then I try it on and I think, oh yeah, I might add another one, or no, I'm happy with that. The only thing that I can't show you too well is what to do when you get to the infill section, because I've already filled mine in that. Here we are. When you get to the infill rows at the top of the neck, and it'll be the same at the bottom as well. Just evenly be placing 3 double crochet clusters along the bit where you had your infill rows. Although I will be covering this section on once I've added all the length, and then people who have added length are then going to be doing the same process going all the way around. So you could always have a look at that as well. But basically when you get to the the infill rows along the back of the neck, you're just going to be evenly placing your granny stitches along that section. Doesn't really matter where they go as long as they're like looking even. So yeah, basically I still like to do it so I turn my work after every round. So according to this, my last round I did on the inside of my cardigan. So now I'm going to do this one on the outside. I'm going to join my yarn in one of the corners. There's only 2 corner chain spaces now, so it doesn't matter which one you go in. I've got this one here, so I'm just going to go in that one. Right, let me get my yarn. So in any corner chain space, I'm going to join in my yarn with a slip stitch. And I'm going to chain 3 and put 2 double crochets back into this corner chain space. And then you're just going to repeat basically what you've been doing 3 double crochets in every single gap, not working any stitches. You're just going to keep doing rounds of granny stitch. So 3 double crochets in this gap, skipping over 3 double crochets, going straight to the next gap, 3 double crochets. Oh, I lost that one there. Basically, this is all you're going to be doing all the way around the edge of your cardigan. Nice and easy. It's just when you get to those back, those infill rows on the back, where you just need to evenly place your single crochets around the DC bars. But I will be covering that in a little bit more detail once I've added length to my cardi, my new cardigan number 2. I'm just going to work this round up until the next corner chain space, because I'm pretty certain you're going to know what you're doing after you've worked all these hexagons, 2 lots of hexagons. You're going to know what you're doing when you get to the corner chain space. But I'll still work it to then anyway. I'm now coming up to my shoulder seam. Oh, that one went a bit funny. And because I've already done my first round, it's all the way back here in black. I did mine. So this was the seam for the shoulder. You can see that. And then there was literally a corner chain space there. And I just did my 3 double crochets in there, and I just skipped over the seam and I put 3 double crochets back in this corner chain space. And then you're working around DC bars where the infill rows are on the back. I skipped my first one and I went around my next one, and then I skipped another DC bar, and then I put 3 DCs into the center of this, because this was the center part of where I did my continue like join as you go, continuous join as you go method. So rather than skipping and going around that one, I went right into the center, and then I skipped that one and went around the next DC bar with 3 DCs, skipped the next one, went around this one with 3 DCs. Oh, and look, you're back to the seam again. So that's basically what I did on my back panels. But again, I will be showing that how that process once I've added length to my other cardigan. Oh, I just lost that bit. Oh, I've got a bit twisted again. Right, I'm now coming up to my first, or my second corner, not my first corner, because I placed my double crochets around my first corner, didn't I? So I'm up to the next corner. So what we're going to do is what we've been doing the whole way through the whole thing, is placing 3 double crochets in that corner chain space, chain 2, 3 double crochets back into that corner chain space. And then we're just going to keep going all the way around the edge. Just going to show you all the way to this edge. And when you get back to your first corner chain space, you're going to be doing exactly what you've been doing before, placing 3 double crochets in that final corner chain space, doing a chain 2 and joining it to the top of your chain 3. And you're going to repeat that round as many times as you want. Now I normally do it maybe 3 or 4 times, but yeah, it's up to you. You can do it as many times as you want. And as soon as you think, yeah, that's enough, your whole cardigan is done. As long as you weave the ends in, you still have a couple, won't you, of these. Hopefully you haven't left too many, bless you. But yeah, that's basically all you're going to be doing. So then your cardi will be done. The next section is going to be adding length to the other cardigan. So well done if you've completed this one. Amazing. If you still want to add length to your cardigan, then I'll see you again in a minute. Okay, so if you would like to add extra length to your cardigan, we're going to do that now. We're just going to be adding rows back and forth along the bottom. Nice and simple. So what I'm going to do is turn my cardigan round. So it's basically upside down. And then my last round of my hexagons, I worked on the inside. So I'm going to start working on the outside. I'm just going to join in this first corner here. It's going to be the same process that we used when we did the infill rows along the back centre pieces, where on the first row you have 2 double crochets to start with, and then the next row you have 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets, 1 double crochet, 2 double crochets. if you remember. And that's how we work our granny stitch in a straight line. So I'm going to join in my bottom corner chain space, so that means I'm going to be working along the back, the bottom, not the back, the bottom of my cardigan, not along the neckline, along the bottom to add my length. So joining in this corner chain space with a slip stitch, chain 3, place 1 more double crochet in this corner chain space, and then continue your stitch pattern, so skipping over the 3 double crochets and straight into the next gap with 3 double crochets. Okay, so I'm now making my way up to my infill rows. So I'm going to place 3 double crochets in what was a corner chain space, but it's now along the straight edge. 3 double crochets in here. Right, what I'm going to do now is just plan my next move before I go ahead and place my double crochets, because we're now going to be working around DC bars rather than gaps, and we want to make sure we have an even amount of granny stitches along this infill bar. Now you've got your center bit here, the one where you did the join, where you joined the 2 pieces together with your join as you go method. We're going to aim to put 3 double crochets right in the center part of that. So let me have a look at what I've got. Mine's going to be a bit different to yours anyway. Well, might not be, it might be, depending on how many rows you put for your infill bars. So I'm looking at this, I've got an infill bar here, or a DC bar right here. So if I skip that one and go straight around the next one, then I can skip the next one and go straight into this one, into the center of my join. And that's going to work out evenly as long as I do the same thing for the other side. So let me just get my yarn again. So I'm going to skip over this first DC bar. I'm going to go into the next one. As you can see, there's a bit of a gap there that I can go in. I'm just going to place 3 double crochets around this DC bar. I'm now going to skip this next one, and I'm going to place 3 double crochets in the center of this one, which is literally the center of my cardigan. And then I'm going to skip my next DC bar, which is this one. I'm going to go around this next DC bar with 3 double crochets. And then I'm back to my chain space, my corner chain space that once was a corner but is now on the straight edge. 3 double crochets. And then you're back to doing your normal stitch pattern in all the gaps again. Nice and easy. Just need a bit of yarn. My yarn's playing me up today for some reason. Here we go. My yarn does not want to play today. It's being a bit awkward for some reason. I think I've got it on my holder a little bit dodgy. Always the way when you're trying to do something with it. Nearly there. Now coming up to the next corner chain space, which means I've nearly gone across the whole of the bottom of my cardigan. So I'm up to the last chain space. I'm just going to place 2 double crochets in there because we started at the beginning with just 2 double crochets. I'm staying with the same colour, so I'm going to chain 3, which will class as my first double crochet of the next round. I'm going to turn my work. Right, this row is the row where you only have 1 double crochet at each end. Your first row you have 2, and then the second row you have 1, and then the next row there's going to be 2, if you remember from when you did the back infill rows. So I've got my turning chain here, which is classing as a double crochet. I'm going to go straight into this first gap with 3 double crochets. and continue with the stitch pattern, going in all the gaps with 3 double crochets. It's going to be pretty straightforward from here on out. It's just remembering that you alternate each row at the beginning with 2 double crochets and 1 double crochet, just like you did when you done your back infill rows. How much how much length you add as well is completely up to you. I have provided some more measurements, which is meant to be roughly around the hip measurement. And then also when you have finished adding your length, we will also be adding 3 or 4 extra rounds going all the way around the whole cardigan, which will add a tiny little bit of length again as well during that process. But yeah, all the measurements again are in the written section of the video. Now at the centre of my cardigan, along the bottom. Move this along a bit. My yarn is being bloomin' awkward. It's because I'm recording, isn't it? It's like, no, I'm not going to work for you today. I think I've got it in my holder a bit wrong. It's just not playing ball. Oh. Right, I'm at my last gap, so I'm placing 3 double crochets in that last gap and 1 double crochet in the last stitch, which is actually the turning chain. You chain 3 from the previous round. Ah, and it's being a monkey. And again, get in there. There we go. Double crochet, just 1 in there. I'm going to change colour now. However you change colour is up to you. Sometimes I finish my last stitch with my new colour and attach it that way. But today I'm just going to use a slip stitch. However you want to change colour, you can. Or you might be making one in one colour. I would love to make one in one colour. I just can't do it. I tried. I did a mustard one. I was like, right, this is going to be a big chunky mustard one. No, I had to add a bit something else into it. But I've got to be honest, it does look amazing. But I would love to own one of these in just one solid colour. But I just can't help myself with colour, as you already know. Right, I'm going black next. Just do a little bit more on camera, just to show you again. And then I'll leave you guys to it, to add your length. Just more of a reminder, really, that the next row you're going to be doing 2 double crochets at the beginning. Well, you chain 3 being your first double crochet. Slip stitch that in there. Chain 3, first double crochet. Another double crochet in that exact same stitch, which class as 2. And then you're not going in this gap, you're not worrying about that gap right there, because we're basically on top of that anyway. You're going to skip your next 3 and go straight in this one with 3 double crochets. And then again, 3 double crochets in every single gap along the whole row. And then when you get to the end, again, you're going to be placing 2 double crochets in your last stitch at the end. So yeah, just keep alternating. Row 1, 2 double crochets at the beginning. Row 2, 1 double crochet at the beginning. Row 3, 2 double crochets at the beginning. You just got to keep remembering 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1 at the start of every round or row, and at the end of every row as well. I'm just going to get a bit of length on this because I'm just going to turn my cardigan back so it's facing the right way. Again, I don't know how much of this I can fit on my screen now that it's getting quite big. So I started adding rows from this pinky kind of colour. Not really added that many, obviously I've only done 2, now started my 3rd one. If you are making this cardigan for yourself, again, you can keep trying it on, and you know when you're happy with the length that you can stop and move to the final section of the pattern. But if you're making it for somebody else and you're not quite sure when to stop, I have added some rough measurements in the written section again. But obviously if you make a larger size, from about 3XL to 5XL, your cardigan probably is going to be long enough. It's going to be quite long. But if you want to add extra length, go straight ahead. This is where my trusty tape measure comes in. So I'm making a small, and I wrote down a measurement that is roughly around your hip. And it's saying for the small, I need to add an extra 17 centimetres to my length. Well, obviously, I'm nowhere near that at the moment, but you're just going to get trusty tape measure out again and just measure from where you first started adding your length. I mean, I'm only up to like 2.5, no, yeah, 2.5 centimetres. So I've got a bit of a way to go. So I'm going to meet you all back here again once you are happy with the amount of length that you have added to your cardigan. And then that will be the final stage. After that, you've nearly done. Nearly done. Amazing. Right, see you soon. Okay, so we have now made it to the final section of the tutorial. I've added some extra length to mine. I've just done one rainbow repeat in the end. I was going to go to 17 centimetres, but my next colour falls on a purple, and I really want purple to go all the way around the edge of my cardigan, and that's what we're about to do. The final part of the pattern is we're going to be literally carrying on with the same stitch pattern of 3 double crochets all the way around the whole edge of the pattern, all the way around the neckline and all the way around the bottom. And I'm going to do that, I don't know really, maybe 4 or 5 rounds. I don't know, I'll just have a look, see what I think as I'm doing it. Again, the beauty of making your own clothes, hey? Right, I'm going to attach this on the right side, so the right side's facing me, just because I think it will look a bit neater. So, if I start, you start at one of the bottom corners. We haven't got a corner chain space there now because we've been doing rows back and forth, back and forth. You're either going to have 2 double crochets, which I've got, or 1 double crochet. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go, so I'm starting on, what would this be? I'm starting at the bottom right corner, working with right side facing me, which means that I'm going to go up the front panel of my front section and along the back neckline, and then come straight back down the other side. So what I'm going to do, I've got 2 double crochets sitting here. Rather than going in the stitch, I'm going to go in between them. And the same if you had just 1 double crochet, then you'd go between your 1 double crochet and your cluster of 3 double crochets in that gap there. But because I've got 2 at the end of my row, I'm going to go straight in there, and now I'm going to turn it into a corner, well, half a corner, because I like to start right in the half of a corner. So we're going to join the yarn with a slip stitch, chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 more double crochets back through the same gap. So I now need to make my way along my rows that I have done until I actually join up to my hexagon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip this first DC bar, I'm going to call it, which is a double crochet bar. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go around my next one with 3 double crochets. Again, skipping the next DC bar and going around the next one with 3 double crochets. Skipping the next DC bar and going in the next one with 3 double crochets. Again, skipping this next bar and going around this one with 3 double crochets. Get in there. Skipping this next bar and going in with 3 double crochets. And then, see, I've got it now, so I've got 1 DC bar. If I skip that one, I've then got 1 DC bar and I'm straight back into the corner chain space, but that'll be fine. As long as I do exactly the same thing for the other side. If I remember that when I get to the other side, when I get to my corner chain space, I need to put my first 3 sets of double crochets around the first DC bar, not to skip it. So long as we keep it even both sides. So I'm going to go 3 double crochets around my just going down around my last DC bar. How many have I done? 2, which then brings me to the corner chain space, but is actually now on the straight edge, but it's the first corner chain space from my hexagons. So it's going to be nice and easy from here until we get to the back neckline. So skipping your 3 double crochets straight into the next gap with 3 double crochets. I'm absolutely sure you know the drill by now. So keep doing that, 3 double crochets in each gap until you reach the neckline. I say the neckline, the back neckline. Okay, I'm now coming up to my seam, my shoulder seam. So I'm going to put 3 double crochets in what was a corner chain space. So 3 double crochets in there. Then I'm going to skip over the seam and put 3 double crochets in the next corner chain space. And now we're up to the neckline, which is going to be exactly the same as when we was adding the rows to the length and you came up to your back infill rows. So what I did with mine was I skipped over the first double crochet bar and went around the next one with 3 double crochets. And then, because I only did like 3 rows on each infill bar, that brought me straight to the center. So what I did was try to place my next 3 double crochets as much in the center of my join as what I can do. So I'm just going to like wiggle it in anywhere near the center and do 3 double crochets. And then I'm going to skip this one, this next DC bar, and I'm going to go straight into this one, the next one, with 3 double crochets. Which brings me back to the next corner chain space, because I'm skipping over my next DC bar. Sorry, I didn't add that one in. Skipping over my next DC bar and then going into the corner chain space with 3 double crochets, skipping over my next seam, my other side of the shoulder seam, and going back into the other corner chain space with 3 double crochets. and then we're back on to our other hexagon. So nice and easy, where you're skipping over your 3 double crochets and putting 3 double crochets in the next gap, all the way down until I reach where I added the extra rows. Just going to flip this round a bit. That's better. Right, I'm now up to where my hexagon ends and my extra length is added. So if you remember, on the other side I had to put 3 double crochets in this corner chain space and 3 double crochets in the very next DC bar. So I'm going around 3 double crochets in there, 1, 2, 3, and then I'm skipping the next DC bar and I'm going around the next one with 3 double crochets, skipping the next one, and then around the other one with 3 double crochets, just continuing that, skipping, going around the next one with 3 double crochets, keep doing that until we reach the final one. Okay, so I'm at my final one, and I'm remembering that it's not a corner chain space, it's got my 2 double crochets at the end. So rather than going in the stitch again, I'm going to go in between these 2 double crochets with 3 double crochets. Sorry for the little glitch there. I'm doing 3 double crochets in this corner. And then I'm going to do chain 2 and then 3 double crochets back into that same space. And then 3 double crochets in the first gap. And then skipping over 3 double crochets, going in the next gap. And continue the stitch pattern all the way along the bottom of the cardigan. just going to skip this bit forwards and I'll meet you back at the final corner. Okay, so I've gone all the way across the bottom of the cardigan and I've made it back to the corner, the last corner, where I'm going to be placing 3 double crochets around the same gap that the first set of 3 double crochets are in. So we're going to go in there and do 3 double crochets, chain 2, and then join it with a slip stitch to the top of the chain 3 that you made at the beginning of the round. Now I'm going to be changing colour for my next round, so I'm going to be fastening off, but just remember to do, if you want to stick with the same colour, just do what you did on the hexagons, which is turn your work and slip stitch back into that corner chain space, chain 3, and then away you go. But I'm going to undo that because I'm changing colour. So I'm going to do, I don't know, hang on, let me just get this off a minute. Right, just fasten off. So yeah, that's one whole round around the cardigan. I'm going to do, I don't really know really, if I say at the minute, maybe 4 or 5 rounds, try it on, see what I think. Yeah, and that is basically all you do to finish your cardigan. So yeah, I mean, do I meet you back here when I've done mine? Maybe I could. One last time. Okay, so it's all done. I ended up adding a little bit more than 4 to 5 rounds around the whole of my cardigan because I ended up going with the rainbow theme again. And then a black. But yeah, very happy with that. Thank you everyone for joining me on this little crochet adventure, and hopefully I'll see you all again very soon with a new tutorial. Thank you, bye.